Hello, and welcome to Top Posts from r/AskReddit. Reddit Readings, Episode 11. What is the most a dollar has ever gotten you? My great-grandma used to give all of her great-grandchildren $1 every time she saw us. It was a sweet gesture, and all of us great-grandchildren would love seeing her and enjoying the free money. She's recently been moved to a nursing home due to the risk of falling because her body is extremely weak. She's 95. I moved in with my boyfriend in August and went through my things while I packed. I found, concealed in a child's Bible, $1 wrapped in a note which read, "Dear baby, smile away. I can't wait until you're born. Here's your first $1. Make sure mommy keeps it. I love you very much." A few weeks later, my mom, sisters and I went to visit her in the home. As my mom is her primary caretaker, I pulled the $1 from my pocket and read the note aloud. My great-grandma's eyes lit up and she beamed. "Oh wow, look at that," she said. "I'm glad mommy didn't spend it all." It was a pretty priceless moment. 100 Swedish fish. My local public pool sold them by the penny when I was a kid. My mom would send us in with enough money for admission, and if we were lucky enough that she gave a large bill to break for change, we'd go to the concession stand. Treats at home were rather scarce, so I cherished any candy I could get my hands on at the pool. It's one of my sweetest memories, in a literal and figurative sense. $92. Worked a coat check at an auction and we weren't supposed to have a tip jar. Well, someone placed an empty glass on the counter and eventually someone else thought it was a tip jar and started tipping. I said nothing. It got so full that I had to empty it, and then people no longer tip because it was just an empty cup. So I put $1 back in, which made people assume it was a tip jar again, and then the tips came flowing again. Second wave of tips made $92. So putting $1 back in made me $92. I regret absolutely nothing. This is psychology. My sister learned this in class and used it when she worked a concession stand one summer. She threw $1 in and customers started tipping. A wife. I signed up for a river tour in a foreign country. It cost me an extra $1 to ride in the first boat leaving. Didn't want other boats in the way of my photos. Met someone on that boat who later introduced me to her cousin. Been married 8 years. When I was in high school I lived near a grocery store that sold packs of 10 cookies for $1. On the few occasions I had $1 to spare, my parents were very reluctant to give me money unless it was for school. My favorite thing to do was go there after school or sports practice, buy a pack, and eat them on the swings at the nearby playground. A couple years ago, I was back home for the holidays and decided to recreate the tradition for old time's sake, to remember a simpler time in my life. At this point, I was late in college with a steady job, thus, I could easily afford to spend $1. I went to the same store, bought the same type I always did, located the same swing in the same park I always sat on, and prepared for a nostalgia overload. And let me tell you, the cookies were terrible. If you have the means, treat yourself better than 10-cent cookies. A friendship. To clarify, I live in Europe and we actually don't have dollars here. Duh. When I came back from New York I had some dollars left and had them in my wallet still for a long time, even when I forget about them from time to time. Once I was talking to a girl I met and started talking about America. She had never been there and I remembered that I had $1 in my wallet. I gave it to her and she was really happy. Still talking to her to this day, only a bit less than we used to, but safe to say I can call her a friend of mine. A euro, not $1, but still, about 5,000 low quality earplugs. They do the job fine. I still have like 100. I don't know where the rest went. I bought a McDonald's burger for this homeless guy near my old job. The guy was grateful, so he taught me how to make origami cranes and we became friends. Fast forward follow up, he got back on his feet and now has a nice apartment and a really annoying, yappy dog. Teaches craft classes at a local community center. He teaches crafts, that is. His dog doesn't teach. That'd be silly. I bought a cookie for $1 at a bake sale. Didn't really want it later on. Gave it to a lady I worked with. She loved me for it. I was her favorite after that. That lady was my asshole of a boss. Best $1 ever. A full evening's entertainment. I'd bet my friend $1 he wouldn't break into our university's football stadium. He did, but he did so right in front of a security guard, who then proceeded to chase him around, flashlight waving the whole time, in full view of the rest of us outside a fence. This chase went on for probably 5 minutes, through the stands and across the field. My buddy came flying out a different fence, but ripped his pants open in the process, sharp top to the chain link. So he was then running down the street away from a frustrated security guard while giving said guard the full moon, if unintentionally. Anyways, that led to getting beers while watching cop cars drive around the neighborhood slowly. I can only assume looking for a guy with no ass to his pants. Totally worth $1. You can't buy entertainment that fun for 10 times the price. Bought a raffle ticket for $1 and ended up winning an advent calendar of Jim Beam whiskeys valued at $45. It was only 12 days worth and I drank it all on the first day, got really drunk and banged a chick who got pregnant, and now I'm in crippling debt because she had a baby and left me and filed for child support. Best $1 ever. I used to work at a motel doing the night audit. There was a Papa John's across the street, and in a I scratch your back you scratch mine agreement they would deliver me a 10-inch pizza for $1 as often as I liked. I would tip $1 to the driver and suggest Papa John's to any patrons looking for a bite to eat. I found a huge book at this hole-in-the-wall thrift store. It basically diagrams and explains everything about how an automobile works, but it was printed in the early 80s, so pretty out of date. However, it still taught me quite a bit and I'm essentially invulnerable against mechanics trying to fuck me. The knowledge was worth way more than $1. I told my mom when I graduated college I was gonna buy myself a GoPro to take with me on a music tour that following summer. She told me to use her credit card rewards and see what I can find for the points she had accumulated. Turns out she was 10 points short of earning the exact camera I wanted. I called customer service to ask if I could just pay the difference, and they told me I only had to pay $1 for the camera. Few days later I received a brand new GoPro 5 just in time for my music tour. Played a game at a fundraiser that had £1 entry. Had to slide the coin as close to the bottle as possible. Ended up winning 1.5 liters of brand vodka. The following weekend me and some friends went camping for a few days. Safe to say that bottle went to good use. I was working retail, and one of the old ladies who used to come in and look at the TVs in my department while they waited for it to be time for the bus back to their independent living facility came over all faint. She asked if I had anything sweet she could have. I got a Coke from the drinks machine in the break room and she drank it slowly, holding onto my arm. My manager had called her an ambulance and they loaded her up and took her away. Diabetic. The EMT said the Coke was just the thing for her and slapped me on the back. I still remember her little wave as she left. She lived. I didn't save her life or anything, but that dollar made the difference between her getting into the ambulance conscious and with dignity, versus unconscious and sick. She said later when I visited her at the hospital that she might have had to move from independent to assisted living without it. So that was a good $1. Best soda I never drank. This is amazing. You say you didn't save her life, but who knows, you could have done. If she had slipped into a diabetic coma or something there's a chance they might not have been able to get her back. Well done you. You should be mega proud of yourself. McChicken with mac sauce. Didn't get charged for the mac sauce. Beautiful. Okay, the short version. We're drunk at a bar and my friend bets me $1 that I can't throw a dart and hit said dollar taped to the board, above his head. Of course, I miss, and stuck that dart to the hilt into his forehead. We're still drunk and after laughing and trying unsuccessfully to remove said dart, off to the hospital. Drunk friend has acute PA. Remove the dart in the ER. He proposes to said PA. Then and there, they wind up dating. They get married. Now, here's where it pays off for me. Destination wedding in Florida Keys. I am broke. Like, broke. Can't go. Sorry. Negative he says. You shall be the best man. After all, my shitty dart throwing skills is why they met. So, they pay for me to spend a whole week hanging out in the Keys with the rest of the wedding party. And man what a party. For the wedding. Wedding was had. They are still married 20 years later. And yes, he still has the dart, framed in their den. A rather bossy loud woman came into our shop to talk to my brother. My 6-year-old nephew told her she needed to leave so he could finish his homework. She laughed and left. I gave my nephew $1 for getting her to leave. I didn't tell him why he got the dollar. Black Friday. The local animal shelter has a special. Any black dog or cat for a $1. Nephew buys a dog with his dollar. So $1. 1. Got rid of an annoyance. 2. Saved a dog's life. 3. Gave my nephew a great pet. 4. Annoyed the shit out of my brother because he really didn't want another dog at the house. I won $40 off a $1 scratcher once. That was an awesome surprise. Not a dollar but 60 pennies. Got me 2 donuts from Sainsbury's, which I enjoyed with my mate when we went to a football match. Probably the most I've ever appreciated a food item. That 60 pennies was literally all I had left in my bank account. If I'm ever down to my last dollar, I hope I can enjoy it on a nice donut. In England, so it's £1. Paid for a homeless person's burger at Max's when his voucher was out of date. Some kind of dad hipster watches it happen and offered me a job on the spot with his design company. Didn't care that I wasn't qualified. Worked there for 2 years before I moved on to freelance UX. Left on good terms and he chucks work my way from time to time. So I guess that pound got me $38,000 before tax. When I was 16, my aunt and uncle wanted to give me an old hand-me-down car that both my cousins used when they first got their licenses, but because of tax purposes, it made more sense to sell the car to me. I bought my first car for $1. Once bought a beer for €1. Turns out you get a raffle ticket with each drink. Long story short, I won a surfboard. I don't know if this counts, but I went to a local casino a few years ago and I was down to my last $2. I was halfway out the door defeated, but I walked by a row of cheap slots. I found a 20-line game at 1 penny per line, so I put the last of my money in the machine and I had a decision to either bet 20 cents, 40 cents, 60 cents, 80 cents, $1, or $2. I only had enough money in there for one spin at max bet, but I kinda wanted to make what little money I had last. I decided 40 cents a spin. To win the jackpot on this machine, you needed to get the top symbol, which was a race car I think, across an entire line for it to hit. The reels are spinning. It felt like slow motion. The 5 race cars landed across the center line. Some old guy sitting next to me who had been playing there starts freaking out. You just hit the jackpot. I got really excited, but then the money stopped counting after $80. Turns out you needed to be playing max bet, $2 a spin, in order to trigger the jackpot. Instead I won $80 off a 0.40 cent wager. That's still a 20,000% return. Nice. Bought an interesting looking silk blouse at a pay by weight Goodwill outlet, $99 per pound, so was less than $1, technically, since it weighed mere ounces. Turned out to be rare vintage Versace, sold it for around $700. Okay, to preface this, we grew up really poor and every now and then we would go to this cheap store where everything is expired and my mom would let me and my siblings, there's 4 of us, have $1 to spend, and so we would try to make it count, and I think the most I ever got was a sucker, a Tootsie Roll, an apple juice box, and 8 gumballs. Sounds like a sweet fucking haul for $1. Story time. Back in junior high, I liked a girl and flirted with her quite a bit. One time, during a band trip, we stopped at a gas station and she bought me a pack of gum. I tried to pay her back $1 but she refused. So, I slipped the $1 in her pocket. She then slipped the dollar in my backpack and so began the back and forth with the $1 bill. We found silly ways to give it back and forth. I mailed it to her house. She stuffed it in a gum wrapper and offered me a piece. I then decided that I would ask her out on this $1. I wrote, "Will you go out with me?" on it and put it in a note and gave it to her. She said yes. Of course, it would be a terrible story otherwise, I suppose. About 4 years later, I still had the same dollar kept away. On our anniversary, I wrote, "Will you marry me?" on the bottom of the dollar. We have been married for 15 years and have 3 awesome kids. We still have that dollar stored away. I traded a bunch of $1 coins for $2 coins when my little brother was dumb enough to believe that, because they were bigger, the $1 ones were worth more. When I was very young, around 6 I think, I was sitting on a curb trying, and failing, to play my new, toy, guitar, when an old man put a dollar bill at my feet. I was absolutely flabbergasted, and tried to give it back to him, but he explained he was tipping me. I was then introduced to the wonderful and lucrative world of busking, from which I have received lots of enjoyment and cash in recent years. I have a friend who put like $1.50 into a CSGO skin jackpot back when CSGO gambling was a thing. He probably had 1% chance of winning, but he won the whole thing. Like $100 to $200 of skins. So what did he do next? He put all of his winnings into a coin flip, 50-50 chance of either losing everything or coming out with double. He won. Seems like any rational person would stop there, but he did it again. He bet all $200 plus in another coin flip, and won again. If he had lost either of those coin flips, he would have been back where he started before entering the jackpot. At that point he finally decided to chill out a bit now that he had $400 worth of skins. He spent the next few days doing coin flips for hundreds of dollars, not all of what he had, but parts of it, and eventually ended up with $1,000 plus worth of skins. I knew where he was doing coin flips and would sometimes watch the guy put like $400 on the line. He was betting during class. He got greedy, though. He did bigger bets and didn't slow down. About a day after his inventory had reached $1,000 in value, he told me he had nothing left. He lost it all the same way he won it. All of this happened over the course of 4 days. What a wild ride that was. I once used a single dollar to buy about 100 bottles of soda and $25 in quarters over the course of several weeks. There was a vending machine at my old school that dispensed sodas. They had it for 3 years. There was a flaw in the system. Basically, you could put a dollar in, and quickly yank it without ripping it. If you timed it right, the system registered a dollar. For every 2 times you did this, you got 1 soda, and 1 quarter for free. I did this 100 times in a row without getting caught, by staff or students, or fucking it up. I could have told the popular kids or at least sold them vending machine soda at a reduced price for a profit, but fuck those guys. They bullied me very frequently. I was sad to see the vending machine was gone when I came back for senior year. They claimed they got rid of it because it promoted unhealthy diets, but they still let us bring in outside soft drinks to class. You never let secrets out like this. Keep it to yourself and it lasts longer. There was a vending machine in my dorm that had a broken flap. You could reach your arm up and grab sodas pretty easily. That lasted for a year or so. Vending machine in my apartment's laundromat had a fluke too. Got my kid a bag of Skittles one day and it looked like it was about to be stuck. Banged on the machine to try to shake it out, and that wire coil thing automatically twisted more and let 2 packs out. Banged on the machine again and it twisted more, letting out another pack. Bought a pack of cookies to see if the banging worked with everything. Got 3 more packs. For about 3 months, we got 3 of everything. It was not obvious BC the machine actually twisted the coil, pushing each product to the front each time you bang. So no empty spaces, like someone was stealing it. Preteen saw me do it and I knew it was over. Sure enough, his whole family was at the vending machine when we were leaving. Only took a week for the machine to be out of order and replaced. Did you know Dollar Tree carries condoms? To answer your question, a son. Thank you for listening to Reddit Readings episode 11. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing.